So when it comes to getting people to listen to your music, there are 8 ways that we're going to talk about that have been really effective for independent artists and producers and record labels to get ears on what you're doing. Because at the end of the day, the big dream of signing with a label and getting a PR company and getting all these things is, well, because you think they're going to connect you with fans. If you can just get your own fans, if you can just get the attention on your project, you're golden. So let's jump into it. So, number one of the issues that comes with why people aren't listening to your music, it just has to do with the lack of promotion and marketing. And I'm not just
Yes.
saying, hey, you need to market more. That's not it. That might be a big part of it if you're not
Mm.
pushing your stuff, okay? But what I'm talking about is that when your music is not getting the attention it deserves, we have to diagnose the problem. And a lot of the times it's because the marketing that you're doing isn't effective to the audience you're trying to reach. You're like, hey, I am a rap artist. And then all you post about is like your job or your family, or you're just not posting. Or you're like, hey, I'm going to go play basketball. You're not actually posting something to connect with your ideal fan base, but also you're not pushing your music.
As artists and creatives, we run into this a lot where we just want to create the thing, but it's hard to get the motivation to show ourselves on social media and actually put ourselves out there to show people what we're doing. There's a lot of insecurities that come around just releasing the music, and then on top of it, to be the mouthpiece for it and figure out how to sell it and or just how to market yourself. It's kind of overwhelming. So you're just happy with anything that you post up. And I mean, I guess something is better than nothing, but it's about a commitment to yourself as an artist and as a business to help propel yourself, and knowing that you need to do the things like social media marketing, and you need to put yourself out there more as far as just different kinds of creative things and learning about ads and marketing. Like, if you owe it to yourself to get your product out there, it's not your fault that no one's hearing your music other than the fact that you're not promoting. It's like these social media companies are choking algorithms, and they could just be preventing your audience. So it's not that your music's bad, it's probably that you just don't know how to market yourself.
So then the second reason why people probably aren't listening to your music, you have ineffective and poor quality releases. Okay.
Yes.
So let's talk about that for a second because it's funny. I'm normally saying the opposite, which is I need you just to release your music. You got to get your stuff out there. But and the reason we do that is because I can't have you just being so perfectionistic that you end up not releasing anything. But you have to keep in mind that your quality of releases do matter. Put some time into the production, put some time into the mixing and the mastering. If you're not sending your music out for someone else to do that, then you need to learn how to do it yourself, and you do that through practice.
Yeah, and and it's also having a few people around you that you trust that can give you an honest critique of your music. Like, it's not even about so much, do you like that? Like, if you talking to people that have experience in mixing or mastering, and when you're dealing with these people, to make sure that it sounds good, that doesn't sound like you just recorded it on your phone and you're just like, oh, why don't you like my song? It's probably because it doesn't sound good. Your song might be great, but it just sounds like trash. And when you're just going to your friends and families for advice, and like, or just like, what do you think, they're just going to be nice. They're gonna be like, oh yeah, man, the song's fire, it sounds good to me. I don't know, it sounds just as good as anything I hear on the radio. It sounds, whatever. But they're just being nice. They don't want to hurt your feelings, or you know what I mean. You need to have somebody that you can trust that can be honest with you, and like, what do I need help with on my mix? You should always be striving to be better on your sound quality, but you need to get a flow so you can balance quality with speed. You need to get a workflow and a pattern and a rhythm going with your releases.
Yeah, and the third one is probably the most important for me as far as you're not having the connection, you're lacking the connection that is needed for someone to really get invested into you and or your music. Okay, so just meaning if your story isn't resonating, if you're not sharing your story, people don't know the basis of your music. They don't know the story that you're trying to tell. If you don't give kind of a behind the scenes, if you aren't doing any of this stuff to really promote your music, people just simply don't know. And so if you can't share that personal story, that insight about the song, or even just your background about who you are, I've met people who just kind of come off superficial
Right.
on, Instagram because we all do the highlight reel thing and we
Right.
only want to show the best stuff, but they have these incredible stories and backgrounds to share. It's just so hard to express that. And so I understand the challenge, but really if you don't have that connection, you don't connect with the audience, they don't connect with the music, people don't listen to you.
And it's not even just so much the connecting on social media. It's also connecting within your music and your lyrics. What do your lyrics say when are they just kind of general lyrics or general party lyrics, which are totally fine. Just make sure that your other stuff kind of backs that up on your social media presence. But I mean, are you getting deep with your listeners? Are you showing vulnerability in your lyrics to connect with them, to connect with your story? So it's like, you're telling this super personal story about your life or your struggle, and not that everything has to be like a struggle story, because I'll be honest with you, I'm also kind of tired of hearing struggle stories. But just whatever your story is, but your music never reflects any of those things, there's going to be a disconnect. So just making sure all of everything is kind of consistent with your purpose. And it's hard to do when you're just trying to figure it out. It's something that even I have a hard time with a lot of times, is, when you're writing songs, just making sure that they really kind of connect or just are within what you're trying to accomplish.
So then, number four, when it comes to why people aren't listening to your music, it's a failure to identify. So this goes a little bit more niche into having the target audience that you want in the genre of music, the style of what you're doing. And this even happened with me because I started integrating some of my lawyer stuff into my social media for my music. And just because it's who I am, right? I am a lawyer during the day.
Right.
And but
Right.
but the problem with that is that it started to cultivate a different type of audience that wasn't maybe necessarily interested in the music, you know what I'm saying? So it caused confusion. So you have to make sure that you are very clear on your target audience, who you're trying to connect with, and then you have to reflect that with what you're posting, right? So if you're like, I'm this dark, creepy, metalhead, goth rock guy,
Right.
well, your profile should kind of reflect that in a 2-second view when I go to your Instagram.
And I mean, that also, crosses over with just realizing that you're going to have to get into marketing, as far as like getting Facebook ads and, like, Instagram ads, and just learning how to find your target audiences for that, based on their, genres that they listen to, other artists that they listen to, whether you're going to other artists' page that are in your same genre, and you're interacting with those pages and interacting with those fans, trying to get some spillover to you, whatever that it is. You need to be aware that you need to prepare yourself to have to do those things, or get yourself to a level where you have team members helping you with that thing. So if it's not your thing, you can always find team members to take care of these little aspects, but don't kid yourself. Like, it has to be done. Every major artist that you hear on the radio, on Sirius, sent to your Spotify in the new release thing, that's whatever, they have people doing this for them, or they're doing it themselves. It has to be done. Otherwise, no one is going to hear what you have going on.
Number five on why people aren't listening to your music. Well, you're not networking, you're not collaborating. Now, let me give you my 2 cents on this. I really don't collaborate with a lot of people. Mostly about just time, and some of it else is about, lots of other things. So don't be me. But if you can collaborate with people in your genre, right? Because you get to cross promote with their audiences. It's very strong. So the other side of it, if you are like me and you're more just kind of introverted and focused on your project and whatever, do more networking within groups. Like for example, we have a
Right.
Facebook group on Top Music Attorney, and you can join it for free. But you just be in a community, and so
Right.
people know what you're doing, and you're like, hey, I just have this new release. And so by doing that, you have people who are going to go and reshare you, put you in their stories, shout you out. Those little things can be massively beneficial for your music and your reach.
Yeah, no, it's tough when you get into collaborating. I know that was something that I used to kind of get into, and I know that you got into it too before, a lot more. And I think the problem for me is um I have a very specific way as where I like to work, as getting release done in timely manners. It's not so much the collaboration, the actual collaboration of it. It's the timely manner of what I like to do things. I've done collaborations where, the project, we started things and it didn't even come out for like another year. And when
Sure.
you're on other people's timelines, and especially if you're into something, it's like it gets disheartening. And then when there's too much time, something can happen. And I've had releases that didn't come out that I was super stoked on, that took, that you were involved in for like 6 months with a back and forth. And so that's just for me, it's a time thing. But I absolutely 100% am into the whole networking. And so you can maybe find people that have a stronger closer to what you're doing as far as your work ethic and the way that you get down. Because there's a lot of people that are a lot of fast. Just in my experience, I've had a difficulty just with the kind that I was looking for.
All right, number 6, when it comes to why people aren't listening to your music, your online presence and branding is weak sauce. Now, you have to understand that you have to just continue tweaking with your project like 1% every day. These little tweaks
Yeah.
on how you're
Yeah.
presenting yourself, your style, every release, your sound, because you're trying to find this sweet spot that when you hit it, it's going to be great because you'll kind of just rocket ship out and it'll be your overnight success that took 10 years, okay? But you're tweaking these tiny little bits in every time you post of the style, the genre, your target audience, and you're building your brand. And so that people are falling in love with that thing. And it can be something as silly as you then colored your hair. And there was something about that change in your hairstyle. There was something about that change in the way you wore your clothes that just started to resonate with
Right.
people. And so in your kind of personal evolution, be okay with every stage that you're at, with how you look, how you sound, your style, your music. Like it is what you're doing right now, and it's a journey, and it's okay
Right.
to evolve. And so if you are kind of evolving and still trying to find that sweet spot, I love it, and it really is the funnest part of this whole thing. So enjoy it.
And for the fans want to watch you on your journey, like doing things. You might lose some, but you'll gain more as you feel more confident in yourself, more comfortable in your skin and in your artistry and how you want to present yourself. I think it's incredibly important. And as you're talking about, weak online presence and your branding and stuff, the weak online presence, let's talk about SEO for just a brief second. About just it's something that every artist needs to know, or have somebody on their team have some experience, or watch a bunch of YouTube videos on SEO, learning how to optimize your websites, learning how to optimize your searches for your videos, and just everything that you do
Sure.
so you can get searched when people are just looking for dark pop artist, or grime core, or whatever it is that whatever genre that you are doing. It's figuring out how to corner that little niche of what you're doing, and a lot of times it's done with SEO. So just learning those things, and it sounds super complicated. It does take a little bit of learning and practice, and there's whatever, but like it's not as hard as you think.
All right, number 7, why people aren't listening to your music, live performances, and specifically ineffective live performances. So, A, if you're not performing at all, you're leaving, an opportunity on the table. There's just something so magical when people get to see you in your creative space because we just, have sound bites
Yeah.
online. They're like, you should never get upset about someone's opinion about you online because they only see like 30% of you at most. And that's if you're posting a crap ton about who you are and this and that. So A, no one knows you, so don't even worry about their opinion
Mhm.
because it doesn't matter.
Right.
But B, imagine and keep that in mind with the vacuum perspective that people have of your music, right? So for most of us, when we follow musicians, we'll see them posting about their new song over and over and over, and we're not going to go listen to it. So we actually have only heard 15 seconds
Right.
of their song over and over and over and over, and we might be fans of them, right? But with live performances, you get to hear the songs all the way through. You get to have the context and the talking and all the emotional stuff. So live performances are really powerful. So if you are going to do them, great, but really take the time to do something special for your audience.
And don't be afraid of doing virtual performances. If you are, want to read, if you don't have even just like a huge, don't be freaked out if you don't have a huge local following. You know what I mean? Like you can't just go and pack a house. You might have your biggest followers could be in a completely different city or could be in a different country. So just don't be afraid of live performances and just doing little things that are special, and acknowledging your fans during those live performances. If you have like a stream set up to where you're looking at it, and there's plenty of videos on YouTube on how you can set it up to where it sounds really, really good. So like you don't have to do things like, you just have your phone, you're just worried about the audio from your phone and it sounds or whatever. You can actually have it going through like a mixer and going into your phone and broadcast to Instagram or YouTube, and the sound sounds perfect. So just take advantage of those things. They're there. There's never been more control for an independent artist, producer, or musician than there is right now as far as what you can do to get yourself out there. But it's on you.
100%. All right. So, last step when it comes to getting people to listen to your music. Before we get to that, make sure you subscribe to this channel on Top Music Attorney. If you haven't already, we release videos every week helping you for free with your music career, with your music business, and getting you to 6 figures. So, number 8 on why people aren't listening to your music, it has to do with the lack of availability and evolution. So just kind of tying everything together. When you aren't kind of embracing the artistry and you aren't in it every single day, you start kind of operating in vacuums, okay? Because you're just going between these big things of life, family, friends, career, maybe you have a day job. And so you just work in this tiny little vacuum of like, okay, now I need to do my social media. Now I need to get into the studio for 1 hour, and it's been like 2 weeks. So you're not really able to synergize all of your creative juices, which
Right.
then is felt by your audience. And also, you can't develop yourself as an artist either. So you need to try to do a lot more touches where time permits so you can evolve. And then when you do evolve and you want to change something, please go for it.
Yeah.
Don't hold yourself back. You should never hold yourself back.
No, for sure. And not being afraid of changing your sound every now and again, trying new styles, new genres, new, whatever. Like, not, don't be afraid because the way that you started and, so many new artists have that problem releasing their first couple of songs because they think it's going to define them as an artist for the rest of their lives and they have to live up to whatever they release. And it's like, it doesn't matter. Think of all the artists that have done different genres and different styles and change from album to album. Like, you are allowed to do that and find your sound. And again, some of your fans might not come along for the ride, but as you get more comfortable and find what makes you special about you, so maybe you're not just stealing Little Baby's vibe. Now you've kind of adapted a little bit of what Little Baby does and you're mixing it with a little bit of what Tupac does and a little bit of whatever you naturally do. And now you've kind of created your own style. You can't be afraid of trying things and just evolving.
Yeah, and guys, I mean, right now I'm in like this Disney cover song dark pop phase, and that means there's a certain aesthetic. It's very PG and sweet and things
Yeah.
like that, and that's cool. So I'm just kind of embracing the visual, the sonic aspects of what this is, because once I'm not doing this anymore, I'm not going to do it again. So really just go with it, evolve, and
You're
it's
a
all
great
going to
example of
be.
it. You're a great example of it from how you started and you were way more into, like, I would say more of just rock, dark rock pop kind of stuff, or gothy almost. And then you kind of went to like EDM, and then you went to more like straight pop, and then you kind of came back to dark pop, and now we're doing Disney covers. Like, you have to, and everything works in its own way. And even with something as different from like our Dangerous Daughters record, which was pretty dark, as opposed to doing a cover of a Disney song, they still connect because the vibe is still consistent. The instrumentation, the feeling that it gets, it's still, but it's opening it up to a whole new audience. And just, yeah, so just don't be afraid of just trying new things, and don't worry about it defining. I'm not worried about anybody just saying, oh, all you guys do is like, you guys do kids cartoon songs now. Like, I'm not worried about that, like, even in the slightest. It's fine.
All right. So when it comes to getting people to listen to your music, please pay attention to all these things. You are doing fantastic. I know you're going to get your numbers up. You're going to get your fans loving your stuff. And we'll see you on the next video.